So I thought I'd talk to you guys. It's been a while. I've just been so busy with freelance, I just haven't had the bandwidth to literally do anything else, to be honest. I've just been, like, there's been days where I felt like a painting machine. Like, it would be like 8 hours of painting a day. It was quite stressful. I managed to finish up on some projects, which was really nice. So I thought I'd answer some questions that were left on my last video. If you haven't seen it, I talk about my artistic journey. You can like click here. If you're curious about how my journey was, you can go watch that. But yeah, I thought I'd answer some questions on things to do with digital art, art in general, and freelance. I do want to say, as an artist that is working in the industry, my perspective will be very different from other artists' perspectives, okay? Number one, I do not live in the United States, okay? I want to make that very clear. I am an Australian living in Japan, okay? So my perspective will be based on this experience. The other thing too is my career has been a freelance career. I haven't worked in-house in a studio. Why? Because I prefer the freelance life, to be honest. It's something I always knew from the beginning. I always wanted to kind of be my own boss. I wanted to schedule my time to fit my life. So keep that in mind when I answer some of these questions. Like, if you are an artist that is wanting to work in a studio in America or in like one of the very central studios in a big city, yeah, please just take my answers to some of these questions with a grain of salt. Maybe some of my answers as well might be helpful to some of you that are wanting to make a freelance career. Also for some of you that are living in different countries, like if you're living in Australia, which is quite isolated, or any other country where there's not much industry, I will be able to answer some questions with that in mind, because that was my experience. I've collected some questions from the last video, and I've also asked on Instagram. So the first question is, when did you notice the knowledge base that you had would allow you to transition into paid work? Well, the answer to this is I didn't know. I had to ask other artists, like, their opinion, because us ourselves, we're our own worst critic, right? So for me, when I actually transitioned into freelance, I was like, I still thought my work was bad, okay? It was actually when I asked, when I was studying in Los Angeles, and I mentioned this in my previous video about my art journey, it was when I asked my teacher, John Park, I just showed him my work and I asked him, do you think I can start freelancing now? And he said, yeah, why not? When you ask an industry artist, like, is my work good enough? If they're honest with you, they will tell you yes or no. They will tell you no if your artwork needs to be improved, and that's in terms of if you need to up-level your fundamentals, like if you need to get the hang of perspective, color a bit more, or if your portfolio isn't arranged properly and it doesn't look like a work portfolio, like if it still looks like student work, that will be what they say. And now that I'm actually in a position where I'm working in the industry too, like I do art mentoring, and I don't usually talk about this actually, this is like the first time I'm talking about this publicly. I do art mentoring. I mentor fellow artists that are wanting to up-level their work and start working in the industry. And I am very honest and upfront with the level of someone's artwork. Like, if they are not at an industry standard, I am very clear with like, this is why, and this is the level you should kind of reach. And once it's at this level, you should be able to get some work. So, or the other thing is, if you compare your work to people that are already working in the place that you want to get work from, like if there is a dream studio that you would love to work at, put your work like side by side next to artists that are hired at that studio. And if your work is like, you know, it doesn't have to be at the same level because you're starting out, but if it's close to that level, that's when you can kind of start putting yourself out there. I would also say you can start putting yourself out there as early as when you're studying. So the next question is, when you finally got to a point where you felt comfortable with your art, how did you adjust your lifestyle to get work? For me, when I took the step with freelance, I really want to make it clear, I was in a very privileged position. I was still living at home with my mum, and she supported me during that time. She allowed me to still live at home, but she did really say to me, she goes, this is your chance, you take this opportunity to build your career and go for it. Like, don't just stay at home and waste your time kind of thing. You know, I was like really working hard during that time, and this was the period where every single day I would be, you know, I worked on my portfolio, I was sending out emails every day, I was creating work to market myself online. So I really took advantage of that time that, you know, I was very lucky to have. When I signed my first long-term art contract, that was kind of the indication, like I've kind of locked in a job for, you know, the next few months. I'll be okay. And that's when I moved out, basically. But also, I do want to say, you know, that kind of journey isn't common for everyone. You know, I would recommend for those that are wanting to transition into art as a career, it's okay to take it step by step. Do not just jump into it, because it's very unpredictable at the same time. Like, and especially if you're new, it's going to take a while to build momentum, right? My recommendation for someone that is wanting to go for art full-time is to keep a part-time job, still have a source that is supporting you, that is giving you money that you know is coming in, while at the same time you're working on your portfolio. And once you hit that first big job, that's kind of your big sign to be like, okay, I can let this go. And that's when it's pretty exciting. Okay, next question. How do you open and close a deal with a client? How do I open a deal with a client? Unlike in my early stages of a career where I would approach certain studios and ask if there were job availabilities and stuff, I don't do that anymore. One, because I actually have enough presence now that studios and clients approach me. Basically, the client comes to me, ask if I'm available, and if I say yes or no, and I ask about the project, then we go from there. But when there is a project that I think is a great suit for me, that is one that I think is exciting and one that I am quite capable of doing, that's when I say yes, and we kind of just proceed to lock it in. By locking in, I mean we discuss payment, we discuss contracts, we discuss deadlines and timeframes. Yeah, that's just how it goes. The other thing too is the way I close a deal with a client is if I know if they're a good one or a not so good one, because I really want to make freelance artists aware that there are not so good clients out there, unfortunately, and we need to protect ourselves. We also need to be visible for the good clients, because the good clients are amazing. They're really, really awesome people, and they respect our work. They know how much they want to pay. It's awesome. And they know the value of our work. They are willing to pay for the value because they know that we are good at what we do. We deserve that value. It's awesome. So some tips to know if you should go ahead with a client, I suppose, is number one, if they do not bring up this topic of money in the first or second email, chuck it out. It basically means they don't have money. If they're not willing to talk about budget or pricing at the very beginning, and if you say, okay, what's your budget, and they avoid the topic, red flag, run. The sign of a very good client is if they automatically bring up like, this is our budget, or what are your rates? They ask you the question, they want to know what your rates are. Or they go like, this is the pricing range that we can afford. If they're talking about money at the beginning, because money is part of business, if they're not talking about money, it is not a job. And I guess this leads into the next question as well, which is, how do you charge clients? Based on package or whole project? If it's a long-term project, like if the project that, let me give an example. If they want to hire you as a concept artist on a game for, let's say, 6 months to a year, that is a long-term contract. And you want to price based on your day rate. And you can discuss like how many days a week you're going to be working for them, and this is your day rate. My huge piece of advice is do not charge by the hour, okay? While there are situations where you might think you should charge by the hour, for big jobs though, it is not so good. Because the thing is, when you want to scale your income, so as you get better at your craft, as you become more advanced as a freelance artist, so when you're starting off, you know, your skill level is going to be at a certain set, okay? You're also going to be slower, okay? when you get better at art, you get faster. So it doesn't make sense to charge by the hour, because when you get better, you get faster, which means if you're charging by the hour, it'll take you less time to complete a piece of work where you're at a very advanced skill level compared to when you were at a beginning. If you're charging per hour, that means if you complete something in a shorter amount of time, you get paid less, even though you're more skilled. That doesn't make any sense, okay? So you have to charge based on either day rate or a set price, like a package price. So that package could be like a whole illustration, which includes all the high-res image files, the layered PSD, charge by the work order, basically. So try to avoid charging per hour, because when you want to scale your income, it just doesn't make sense. Whereas when you're charging based on like a package, from a flat fee, you can start off as like, okay, this illustration is going to cost you $500. When you start to scale up, you go 600, 700, 800, 1,000. This is where growth happens. If you don't want to scale your income as you get better at art, then you're going to be stuck at that beginner level pricing, which is, you know, it doesn't make sense. You're going to get better as an artist as your career progresses, right? You're going to have more experience. You're going to have better artwork as you keep growing. So that's my biggest advice for that. And I guess I'll make this the last question. This is a good one to wrap up with. If you could go back in time and give yourself 3 top general tips, what would you tell yourself? One of my top tips I think I would tell like my past beginner artist self would be number 1, track your income. Because this was something that I didn't do at the beginning very well, and I really wish that I did. I would say develop a habit of tracking your income monthly. Be very on top of it. What I used to do at the beginning of my freelance career would be I would leave it like for a few months and then be in a rush to like, you know, scoop up past invoices, put them in my spreadsheet, and then by the time tax time happens, I'm like stressed and all over the place. Now I've gone to a point where I am really diligent. I actually check every single week that I'm on track with all my invoices, and I'm very conscious of what money is coming in, what money is going out with my business expenses. That's my first piece of advice, is set up a spreadsheet, because the thing is, if you're an artist that is working freelance, you are a business, okay? That is the biggest difference between a freelance artist and a studio artist. Being a freelancer is not for everyone, okay? Some of you artists you just want to focus on just painting. You do not want to think about business, you do not want to think about the money part, like you just want to paint, okay? So if that's the kind of artist you are, I think a studio job would be suitable for you. However, if you are a creative that values freedom, that values being in control of your own income, being able to scale your income by yourself, because if you're working as a freelancer, at any time you can increase your rates. You're allowed to change what you're charging at any time because you are in charge. And that's the really cool thing. The other thing too is, as a freelancer, you can decide your own schedule. Like, I know there's so many artists where they work better in the evenings and they can work late into the night, or you can start as early as you want, get your work out of the way for the day, and then relax for the rest of the day and enjoy your life with your family, friends, like all that kind of thing. My second tip, I think, for myself, for my past self, would be exercise now. Art is a very sedentary job. Like, we're not moving much, we're just sitting down and drawing and painting. It is very important, I think, to integrate fitness and movement as part of your life somehow, and to integrate it as a habit into your lifestyle, because the benefits that I've experienced just from integrating a workout into my routine is amazing. Success, it means nothing without your health. Like, you can earn all the money in your career, you can get all the things in your life, but if your health is not at a good stage, it's not going to mean anything, because you won't be able to enjoy all your success, right? You know, it's never too late to start, basically. I really wish I had started exercising and feeling good about my body and fitness earlier, but now I do, so it's great. And my last general tip, I suppose, to my past self, which is something that I wish I told myself in 2020, actually, is this. There is always a way. Because the thing is, with a freelance career, it can be very unpredictable. It takes a while, especially at the beginning, for it to be sustainable, to be comfortable, you could say. So you're gonna be feeling like this, you know. You have to just remember that there's always a way, and to continue putting yourself out there, because the moment that you kind of stop is when things start to slow down. It's to take very intentional steps that always contribute to your career, that keep it moving all the time. Because once you've given it enough movement, it will be able to maintain that movement by itself without you having to put the work into it now. To give an example of this, so for me, I marketed myself a lot at the end of 2021. I was very active on socials and stuff. It landed me a few jobs. Since then, I haven't needed to put the pressure of myself on social media as much. I've also set up myself so that things like my website will pop up, and it kind of does the work for me, for clients and studios when they're searching for artists and they want to get someone on their project. I end up popping up anyway. So to kind of summarize, my last tip would be, there is always a way. And that's all the questions that I've got right now. So I hope that helps some of you. If you find this video interesting, let me know. If you have any more other questions about freelance and art, you can put them down below. I might answer them like in another video. Anyway, I think that's it. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.